Hi, Hunter W here. This is a response to the video that I made yesterday, which is entitled, "The 10 Reasons Why You Should Not Become a Musician." So I decided to do the complete opposite today and explain why I think there's 10 reasons why you should choose to pursue becoming a musician. Part-time or full-time, doesn't really matter which one. So to get started, reason 10 is that I feel it is a great way, if you have extra downtime, to spend your free time. Often if I find myself not feeling like playing guitar, or I don't have access to a guitar, then I may choose to unwind in ways that aren't, very productive, and where I might not really feel very accomplished after, even if I am a bit less stressed out after work or school or whatever. But if I find that I sit down and create, say, a riff on my guitar, or a bass line, or a chord progression for a new potential song, it's a lot more rewarding. And not only do I feel that it's a way to unwind, to recharge, especially being an introvert and kind of needing that time away from, friends, family, and just people in general, that it's a great way to unwind while also feeling like you've accomplished something, that you've produced content or art. So reason number 9 is that I feel it's a great way to develop skills. And that, like say you're learning piano, you'll have to learn how to synchronize being able to read a score in front of you with moving your fingers in the chord shapes or melody shapes that are associated with the said piece. So they've done studies where that lights up a lot of different areas in the brain at once. So therefore, since it provides that level of mental exercise, it is very good in developing those types of skills. If you're learning guitar, then you'll have to learn how to synchronize your hands, because the majority of the time when you have to have your right and left hand acting, and your fingers acting at the same exact time in specific rhythms, in specific melodies, so that they're working together in order to produce certain sounds. If you're, say, a producer, then you have to learn how to see the big picture, how you'll learn to use your ear in order to have different musical ideas work together for a greater whole. And you'll have to use your creative side. You'll have to develop your skills in order to create an end product, which is very similar to the skills that you'll learn if you decide to become a songwriter on whatever instrument, which is beyond just learning technique and knowing how to play other people's songs, but also how to create new material, new compositions. So reason number 8 is that it gives you a new way to communicate, basically, or some people like to call it gives you your own voice. Obviously if you're a singer, that's pretty self-explanatory. The quality of your singing voice and how recognizable or unique it is going to be something you develop in that regard. But say you're a lead guitar player, then the types of melodies you create or solos will be an aspect of your identity that you create within the confines of you being a musician. And say you're just a songwriter or a producer, then you'll put your own stamp on any productions you create for other musicians or for yourself, obviously. Number 7 is that learning music is a great way to develop your right brain, as it's understood. Your left brain is more associated with reasoning skills, linear thinking, like math, science, things of that nature, logical processes, obviously. And your right brain is the more creative, artistic side. So if you learn how to play an instrument, say you start out learning other people's songs, then it allows you to tap into the mindset of the musicians who created the songs that you're learning. And if you're creating your own music, it'll force you to develop the skills in terms of being able to create artistic compositions. So it'll force you to develop your right side of the brain in terms of your creative potential. Now, this could be beneficial if you're a more primarily left brain dominant person or right brain dominant person, because if you're more left brain, then it'll even you out a little bit. If you kind of have a knack for more logical based subjects, then it'll make you more adept at a wider range of abilities. Now, if you're a more right brain person, then you're already heading in that direction of having artistic potential, so you'll in a sense be the perfect candidate for someone who should eventually become a musician or any type of artist per se. Now, number 6 is, I'd say, a reason that's pretty personal to me, is that being a musician or a creative person in general is a great catharsis. Now, what that means is that if you're someone who struggles with, say, personal issues, psychological issues like depression or anxiety, which I myself have struggled with for, I'd say, my entire life in some form or another, then creating art is a way to kind of take negative feelings, negative thoughts, insecurities, whatever, and communicate them in a way that isn't always readily available. Like, for instance, if you have a hard time communicating to your friends or family or just people in general about if you experience negative feelings or if you have emotional struggles, then creating music is kind of like an indirect way to communicate those feelings, because oftentimes I find myself more inspired after, say, I have a rough patch emotionally, then I'll feel the need to create, I'll just have like an itch to create new songs. I'll be finding myself writing more riffs, more melodies on my guitars and recording them and eventually turning them into songs. And I don't even know if all the science behind that is currently understood, but it seems to be that people who are more susceptible to these kinds of issues tend to make great artists because of that need to transform their negative emotions and experiences into positive ones, into works of art that serves them and that others can relate to. Now, reason number 5 is that it teaches you how to collaborate with others. Now, I'd say a large percentage of my social interactions over the course of my life have been through musical opportunities in some form or another, whether I ended up making friends with people through jam sessions or different musical environments where everyone comes together, meets each other, and then finds out they're like-minded individuals, and they start jamming, or we just end up friends through our own experiences. Then I found that those have afforded me opportunities to make friends, to keep friends over the course of my life. And whenever I'm in a situation where I'm in a room jamming with people where we need to learn a song, or we just want to get together to collaborate and create music, then it teaches you how to effectively develop your communication skills so that towards an end goal, whether it's to get everyone to play in synchronicity together, whether it's to get everyone to contribute their songwriting abilities on their own respective instruments in order to create a song or an album or to prepare for a live performance. That kind of pressure, in a sense, of being in a situation with other musicians leads to collaboration, leads to you developing your skills in terms of working together as a team, which could translate into many other areas of life. Whether you have to end up conducting business meetings or negotiate things or just negotiate with groups of people, then you'll be thanking yourself if you put yourself in situations where you had to collaborate with other musicians. Number 4 is that it teaches you how to be frugal. Yeah, now this kind of relates to my previous video in which I was kind of bitching and moaning about the fact that being a musician is not a very lucrative choice. It's not a very money-making career, but I mean, everyone knows that to some extent. Now, the upside of this is that it teaches you how to manage your money. Now, since a young age, I wanted to be a full-time musician, so I kind of had it in the back of my mind that saving money was the priority if I wanted to have any chance of having any kind of potential for success in the future. So I kind of developed those habits early out of necessity, and I'd say they've served me well where I am currently and potentially where I may be in the future. Now, blatant examples of this are it costs a lot to maintain your instruments. In my case, as a guitarist, I spend money every couple months on strings, picks, about once a year on setups where you bring your guitar into the shop to get tune-ups, and also, you know, every once in a while, if I'm buying a new instrument, if there's other things like cables, software, and that's just the gear. Like if you ever end up gigging, then there's your travel expenses, your vehicle, all those that I talked about in the previous video. And there's the fact that often, many nights you won't be making a profit. So many bands learn to budget their how much money they spend on food, on entertainment, if any, while on the road. And those experiences of budgeting, of managing your money and time, and result in you being frugal, which is a very useful skill in life. Now, in the previous video, I was kind of bitching and moaning about the fact that it can be very isolating when you enter the world of music, especially if you live in an environment where not a lot of people share your passion. Now, that was the case with me growing up, I'd say, but then again, on the flip side, it makes you unique. Many people don't want to be like everyone else. They don't want to be like your average day person. They realize that they are inherently naturally unique, and that they thrive on that. They use that to their advantage. So if you pursue the craft of learning an instrument, learning to produce, anything of that nature, then you will be adept at a skill that not a large portion of the population has. And that and even if less people are learning real instruments, that just makes you potentially more in demand. You could run into situations where people want to collaborate with you based on your skills alone, because they say someone needs a bassist or needs a drummer, then you will be in demand, because not everyone can go sit behind a drum set and do what someone can do that has been honing their craft on that daily for years. Also relating to that fact that even if less people are creating music these days as professional musicians, and not just hobbyists, I mean, the advent of where music can be utilized has exploded. It's gone from being in music, TV shows, podcasts. The thing is, you can license your songs for all these media formats, and they're only expanding. But that's a whole nother video. Now, I'd say the reason number 2 is that being a musician is perfect for if you are an introvert. If you're not, it doesn't necessarily mean you're not very outgoing. If you just like to have your alone time, which is kind of similar to reason number 10, but yeah, if you like to be alone, if you get energy from shutting yourself off from the outside world, then being a creative person, composing music, learning songs by other musicians is perfect to unwind after school, after work and to kind of feed your introvert needs. Now, I'd say the number one reason why I think it's a great idea to be a musician, even in 2016, is that in a way, currently is the best time to be a musician in the history of the world. I mean, not monetarily, but just the options you have. I mean, in this day and age, you can be completely self-taught and still not really miss much compared to people who were taught privately, just because of your access to instructional material through the internet. Whether it's YouTube videos, professional musicians' websites where they offer videos to download, instructional videos, DVDs, all that stuff. Whether it's musicians on tour who offer stopping in your hometown and giving you guitar lessons, like in the case of Mastodon or Revocation's David Davidson, I've seen offer those services. We're living in a time that is unlike any other, especially for the music business. We have platforms like SoundCloud. We have online distributors like Songcast or TuneCore, Songcast or CD Baby or Bandcamp. The one I use is Songcast, where it puts all my music on iTunes, Spotify, Rhapsody, etc. with no middleman, no record company. It's just completely self-released. And I can do that for not a lot of money. And I recorded all my albums in my home, where you don't need to, shell out hundreds, thousands of dollars on production budgets for an album recorded professionally at a studio with engineers, with producers, everything. You can do it all in your bedroom and sound almost as good, and with enough practice and some collaboration, it could measure up to professional quality. Yeah, so the possibilities in terms of learning to become a musician are ubiquitous in this day and age. And in terms of reaching an audience, it's the same. There's people who become famous basically just from YouTube and other social media alone. And if there's a way to release your music on a global scale without having to go through all the grunt work of local gigging and then eventually getting signed and then nationwide tours and then eventually expanding to other countries, you could potentially reach a global audience without leaving your bedroom, basically. So I hope this video was informative and that it gives an alternative perspective to my more negative, kind of whiny video that I made yesterday. And I look forward to making more videos like this in the future. Thank you.